Hello there, this is to help you with your assignment about the beginnings of written music. And I'm sorry, I need my glasses. I know they have a glare on them, and I need a filter or two, but this is about learning something, not about me. All right, music, we've established, music has been around as long as people have been around, and we don't know when that started, okay? So, we start this class with the beginnings of written music. And that happened during the medieval period, approximately 450 to 1450. And different scholars say different things about that because there was not mandatory education at that time. There was not an elementary, middle, and high school in every mile or so. The medieval period was very hard. Most people were just trying to escape the plague. They were trying to just make a living, and there was really wealthy people like the nobility, then very low functioning people in society. They were hard workers, but they weren't thought of very high. The middle class didn't come around till much later. So the medieval period was a time also known as the Middle Ages or the Dark Ages, because there was nothing light about it. Struggling to live, struggling to get by, heavy taxation from the government and the church. And by the way, the church then, if you believed in Christianity, everybody was considered to be Catholic with a little c, and that means the universal church. The denominations didn't come about until after the Protestant Reformation, which was a bit later. But anyhow, we could talk all day about this. The beginnings of written music started within the Catholic Church when Pope Gregory, who was not a musician, said, hey, we need to find a uniform way to talk about the music being performed at different monasteries or convents. Okay, a monastery is where a monk lives. In the Catholic Church, there's two different ways that men could dedicate their life to the church. It was being a priest and a monk. A woman could become a nun. All of these people, they took a vow of chastity, moral, clean living, celibacy, yes, abstaining from sexual relations, and of poverty, so of being poor. So these people were the ones, though, who could have some kind of access to education. The monks at that time, pre-printing press, had to copy every Bible by hand. There was none of this where your household had 5 or 6 or 10 Bibles and most of them were dusty. If your village had one, you were considered very fortunate. And you say, how does this tie into music? Well, the people with the education were those people. People in the monastery, the monks, or people in the convent, the nuns. And there's one famous medieval musician named Hildegard von Bingen, who is a German nun. And we still can talk about her today. But she never considered herself much of anything. She was very humble, but she could do so many things. Now, at that time, it was popular to stay anonymous because they felt like the sin of pride would keep you from God. So they didn't take credit for their work. But anyhow, Pope Gregory, once again, not a musician, he said, hey monks, let's find a way to write down this system of music so all the monks in different areas could be singing the same tune. It's sort of like how we all know the basic tune to Amazing Grace, or My Country 'Tis of Thee. And it was sort of like that. That's kind of an oversimplification. And this music came about, it was sort of like the forerunner to a hymn book, if anybody knows what a hymn still is. Like, say, Amazing Grace was on page 475 of the hymnal in the back of your pew back in the day before a lot of churches started putting all the songs up there without music on a screen and just the words. So Guido d'Arezzo, a famous Italian priest, He came up with something called the Guidonian hand, and it was a way of writing music, much different than the music you see today, but we had to start somewhere, right? So if you look at old music, it looks nothing like today. It was very simple, but out of this, one step at a time grew the system we know today. Mention Pope Gregory, because he's the one who said, hey, here's the Pope, the head of the Catholic Church. Hey, y'all need to do this. Mention Guido d'Arezzo, and this is in the reference material I left you, because he came up with the Guidonian hand, that earliest form of writing music. And mention that medieval period, because this is when it happens. I could go on, but I've given you enough here to help you. All right. If you need additional help, look at those references and write me. Try not to overthink it. Remember, assignments need source citations if they're not music critiques. But even music critiques need those if you get information from outside sources. Remember, we want to stay away from artificial intelligence, anything that is generated. And trust me, I've looked up all these topics and I know what the AI looks like. So we don't want you to get in trouble. Always cite. Now, if you've made it through 6 minutes and 27 seconds, you deserve 10 points. Write me and tell me you watched this through the end, and I will record your points to be used at the end of the term. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.